Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so our first question for you would be, what does the Seneca community do for Native students? How do
That's
they?
a loaded question. I guess what I can say is that the Seneca community, when we do have events and activities, are very supportive in that the infrastructure through our management, our director, who reports to the dean's office, who reports to the president's office, all those chains of commands have always supported us when we've wanted to do cultural activity or special events, because as we know, living in Canada, most of our activities were banned and illegal for a long time, up until 1960s. So even to sit and have a drum and do a round dance, we couldn't do that, so not very long ago. So that support is reflected through that process.
Do we have a lot of Native students in Seneca, specifically in this campus?
We have approximately 700 Aboriginal students at Seneca College. They're all over at the different campuses. The majority, of course, are here at Newnham, and even more so through continuing ed. So folks that are from First Nations communities that have large families or may be rooted in their community and aren't in a position to travel to attend studies here on campus like yourselves, they'll attend through distance ed opportunities. So that's kind of our population base, but those are only numbers that we've been able to identify. There's many, many more Aboriginal people that have been born and raised in the city, maybe been adopted, and may not have their status because their grandpa was on the trap line when the Indian agent came.
I have my status.
Fabulous.
Yeah, I put in the application. I'm actually 4th generation Algonquin. And that was a recent discovery, so...
I should connect you with one of our alumni who's also a Algonquin Nation. And
I know nothing about it. That's why we picked this
she's
topic.
gone through the same process of finding out, so she'll have a little bit of information. If you want to leave me your information, I can connect you. That's the other thing that we'll do too, is we'll connect, linkages between our students who are Aboriginal, who are willing to not necessarily role model, but be a connection for other folks that are of the same nation, for peer support, and also for building nationhood.
Do we have a lot of students that come from, out of those Native students, do we have them coming straight out of high school, like from a reservation maybe, straight to college, or is there a break between the two?
Well, in Canada we don't use reservation, because in the United States they still do, but in Canada we use First Nation, if it's First Nation. But the other Indigenous group is Métis, who doesn't self-identify as First Nation because they're not status, in that sense. And the other group is Inuit. So our students primarily are coming from a mix of right from high school and as mature students. So they've gone into the workforce, they've gone into parenting, they've left school for different reasons. You just met Courtney, our student ambassador. She came right from high school, and but many of our students that are here have, come from different places. Jeremy just left before you came in. He's a vet. He's been in 3 wars. So it just depends where you're coming from. He's from the Mi'kmaq Nation. Courtney's from the Anishinaabe Nation, Anishinaabe Confederacy, Ojibwe, Odawa, Potawatomi. So our students are coming from all different situations. Some are workman's comp, so they're not coming directly from high school. And from the over 500 nations in Canada, we have students from coast to coast, north to south, covering all corners of Canada. It's very nice. Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that. I actually thought that the community within our school would be a lot bigger than just 700 students. I thought there would be more people who have status or who are Native that would go to our college, because I know that a lot of other colleges, they don't have specifically a Native center like this one that's so open.
Or might not be as developed yet, because we started this service here in 2006.
Oh, wow.
And Mark Solomon, who's now the director at Student Conduct downstairs right beside the cafeteria, he's the one who really launched and fought to get the services that we have. I've been here for almost 2 years, and Karen White, who's a student counselor, has been here for almost 6. So folks that are here are still trying to develop the division of student services, that's the First Peoples at Seneca, as much as we can. And it's growing all the time. Like our annual events and the amount of students that want to start participating. And we want to include mainstream students You know, when we have a Mogson workshop or we have a medicine bag workshop.
How often
for
do you hold
events.
events?
We have different events at different times of the year. We have some that are annual, but we always have the traditional crafts built into our events. Like today we're having Taseong. Taseong is the feast of the ancestors and loved ones. So you might have someone from your nation who is a mighty warrior who protected the nation, so you want to honor him or her. There was also female warriors, but primarily men, of course, because you know they're brute. They got the power, the might. But we did have some. If you had really good skills, and you're a really good archer, or you're really good at close combat. I mean, there's different skills different people have. We know women can be pretty tough too.
Yeah.
So and then of course our family, our loved ones who we care about when they've passed into the spirit world, and we believe that our grieving cycle is 13 moons. That's our calendar year. So after 1 year, then your personal grieving cycle is done. Then you can honor that person through a feasting ceremony. So we're doing that today, and people will bring in food, and they'll prepare a dish of significance to a person that they want to remember. So my dish, I made macaroni and cheese casserole because my nephew, who died 2 years ago, that was his favorite dish. So I'm remembering him. And then I've got some candy here that my dad and I used to put on my baby sister's grave at Taseong back home, and that's to remember her. So you can honor more than one person, but I always do my baby sister. So those types of things are done at this time of year. But in the first year, it's still too raw when you lost someone you really love, a parent, a child, a close
It all
friend.
sounds so meaningful and very honorable.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's our culture, and I think
and
that's
comforting.
it's healing.
Yeah.
We don't believe eye for an eye, and we don't believe a
Vengeance.
pound of flesh.
Yeah.
We believe that healing needs to happen and forgiveness. And if healing and forgiveness can happen, people won't reoffend. They won't harm the next person after that because you get a chance to heal and deal with the issues. So that's a core value in Indigenous beliefs and culture and Aboriginal people across Canada and the States and South
I know,
America.
it sounds so beautiful and like
Yeah.
put together, and
Yeah,
like it sounds like the whole community is very close knit and
Absolutely.
helping each other and
yeah,
you know
Yeah.
honoring each other and making sure everyone feels comforted.
yeah,
It sounds
absolutely.
fantastic.
I mean, we
Learn
still
a lot
have
from
challenge.
you guys, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
most of us don't.
pardon me?
We can learn a lot from you guys, but most of us are ignorant. We don't.
Yeah.
Most of us don't care. We discriminate and we
And that's-
prejudice. Yeah.
Right. And that's part of what First People's trying to do in our community here at Seneca, because this is all our home.
Yeah.
And we try to share information when we can. But when you have limited resources, because there's only a
Yeah.
few of us here,
Yeah.
Karen and I are the only two full-time staff, and then we've got some student ambassadors, but we've got a pretty poor budget. Well, we've got a good budget, but it's growing. So we have to keep working with management to try to get more. And we've got some part-time staff. We've got Jimmy, our spiritual person, and we've got Melissa, she works with students to help them with the academic needs. So we're getting that built up, and we're running out of space. We need to find more space so we can grow.
Yeah.
But that education is really important to share. And when we have events, we have them all open to anyone. No one's excluded. And that's important to do. But there's a lot of our people, because the residential school, and there was 4 generations of our people that were removed from their families with children at the age of 3. So if you had a little sister or a little brother, or yourself at 4, can you imagine being pulled from your home? And your parents
Yeah.
would be put in jail if they tried to stop the authorities. And then you were removed from your family until you were finished school. So for years, when you came back, you lost your ceremonies, you lost your language, you lost your culture.
Yeah.
So that's not going to change overnight. And I'm still a product. My dad was the last one. I'm the first free generation in our family. And he went, my grandmother went. So all those things that were oppressed, you weren't allowed to speak. You had to cut your hair. All those
Yeah.
types of cultural issues, those are things that we're still dealing with. Even though I may not have gone, I'm still effective because my dad had lost parenting skills. There's ceremonies that weren't offered, and there's language. Although I'm a fluent speaker and I can speak well my language, there's still things that I could have learned more about, to be more eloquent and to be able to connect better with the ancestors. Those types of things. So residential school has a major multi-generational impact.
We were going to go up to Peterborough and talk to an artist in an art gallery up there, the Waitung, yeah.
Yeah, Waitung Gallery.
We were going to talk to an artist there that I had met before, and he told me about his life when he grew up on a residential school and how it affected him, and he got involved in substance abuse and in jail, and a lot of bad things happened to him, but we are so interested in knowing about what it must have been like.
Yeah. Followed, eh?
Yeah,
Followed.
he expresses his experience through artwork, and it looks so beautiful, and it's just amazing that you mentioned that, because we were actually going to go and talk to someone and learn about it
That's
more.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Will it be part of your program or just a personal?
It's part of our project for our program, because we're in the Bachelor of Child Development program.
Okay, because there's another elders group here in Toronto, and I went to their 15-year anniversary, and it's a circle of elders, and they're a resource to yourselves and other Aboriginal people in Toronto. They're called Dodem Knoswin, and Dodem of course means clan. It's like family and how we're all connected. And this is their lodge in a high-rise downtown on St. Clair, and they've renovated that whole area so that it's built like a lodge, like if you were going into a ceremony in one of the communities, that's how it would look. And they're just got them to sign that for me. They're affiliated to the Native Cultural Center here in Toronto. Native Friendship Center. It's not Friendship Center, Friendship Cultural Center. But all their elders talk about being involved with this agency that they created so that people can have access to elders. And there's a place where they can go. Now, many of them have passed on now, but there's still some that are there and always there. There's like a council of them that are available. So I'll lend you this, as long as you promise to bring it back.
Yeah,
Take
of
your,
course.
take your 2 legs if you don't. But take a look at it and then bring it back because of what you're doing. And then if you can bring it back before Friday, that would be great. And if I'm not here, just leave it with one of the staff, or you can leave it in student services.
Sure.
Okay? So that'll give you some contacts with elders, so you don't have to go so far if you can't get there.
Yeah.
We have resources here in the city.
Of course, we were going to be back because we actually have to do a project for being an advocate for the culture we're studying. So we wanted to know about how we could help in the school.
Well, how you can help is when there's activities and events, by just the presence, even if it's only for 5 minutes or a minute. You know, for example, on November 11th, we're going to have a drum in the front foyer here of the D building, and we'll have either myself or Jimmy will do an honor song for our vets and our warriors that have passed on in their honor. At the 11th hour, we'll also do, in addition to the honor song, we'll do the last post, you know, the bagpipes that they usually sing on Remembrance Day. We'll use that as well because many of our men went into the armed forces to protect Canada. So, and there's some First Nations, every single man and young person who was eligible to go, and some even lied about their age and they were 16 when they went to war. That's how strong Aboriginal people feel, because this is our home.
Yeah.
We don't go or come from anywhere else.
Yeah.
This is where we're from. So it was very important for us to participate in World War I, World War II, and all the other participations for peacekeeping. So on the 11th, that's an event that we're hosting, and if you pop in for 1 minute, 2 minutes, that's a sign of
Of course
support.
we'll pop in.
Yeah.
Because that's like right before our project's due, so it'd be great for us to pop in and just
Clip it.
Yeah,
Clip it if you.
we're definitely going to come and see
Yeah,
that.
include that in your piece. So either Jimmy or I will be there to do the traditional song, and Jeremy, our vet, will be there in uniform. He said if he still fits it. And I might ask him to say a few things. And he's soft spoken, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get any kind of a mic system. And that will be our day. And so it's only a few minutes, but it's something that we need to do.
It's important.
Yeah, because last year was my first year here in November. Because I started at the end of November. So I wasn't here on Remembrance Day the first year, and last year I was here, and there wasn't anything in the college, and I was really disappointed because in our culture, our protectors are honored very highly, our warriors, because they protect the nation. And, you know, just like our elders, they're Also, another cultural value is that elders are not useless once they get old. They're more valuable to us because they're our natural resource. They're the keepers. They hold that knowledge of the past. They give us guidance, so we don't repeat negative things in history that have been harmful. So they're our best natural resource.
Yeah.
So those types of things are some of the things that, from an Aboriginal perspective, are near and dear to our core teachings and who we are.
That's great. It all sounds great to us.
Yeah.
Because both of them are international students.
Fabulous.
So this is kind of
Fabulous.
new to both of them. But
That's great.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Luxembourg.
Oh, nice.
I'm from Pakistan.
And from Pakistan. Cool.
And I'm from here. I'm
Of
from
course.
Scarborough.
Well, that's great. Which
yeah.
nation? Oh, Algonquin.
Yeah.
So you're part of
That
the
was-
Anishinaabe Confederate. I mean, the Anishinaabe Confederacy.
Yeah, it was so recent discovery. Like, my uncle does the family tree and everything, and on my mom's side, he found out that we had a chief's daughter marry into our family,
Uh-huh.
and then that's where I get my Algonquin line from. And
Yeah.
then my dad recently
I
told
can
me
see
that.
it. I can see it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so honorable
Yeah.
to be told that.
Yeah.
And then my dad recently told me that he's third generation,
Uh-huh.
and that makes me fourth. So.
Oh, fabulous.
I get it from both ends, and
Yeah.
I was really proud to
Yeah.
say that I have Native in me.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people can't say that.
Mhm.
And a lot of people might want to say it and make the stereotypes,
Yeah.
but I just want to be a part of it and know what it's all about.
Yeah,
Like,
and express pride,
yeah.
and embrace
love
your
it.
identity. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, totally understand.
Yeah, and I know from my point of view, personally with this project, we want to kind of kill the stereotypes. The spirit
Nice.
wolf and the dream catcher tattoos and everything like that. It seems a little insulting in a way. Like,
Well, if you get
they
too
don't
caught up in
understand
the
it.
mystical aspects, it can be a hindrance because
yeah,
we want to have, as Aboriginal people, as Indigenous nations, we want to have full participation in society. We want jobs. We want to be respected the same as everyone else. We have the same effects and harms that everybody else has. We're not superpowers or super beings, but we have a very strong spiritual base. And our dream catchers, when they're made a very particular way.
Yeah.
They're not mass produced in China.
yeah. I
Which-
bought two
yeah.
up at Blind River near.
Yeah, the trading post.
Yeah, I bought it at the Blind
Serpent
River.
River First Nation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bought a Soul Connector dream catcher
Oh,
to keep
okay.
over my bed. And
Yeah.
I made sure to tell my family, I'm like, no, this is not just like a stereotype. I actually mean it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it actually means something.
Yeah, there's things that are there for decorative purposes,
Yeah.
like my little doll. When I graduated at Laurentian University, I got a little doll.
Oh, we have a little doll like that too.
Yeah, and then there's things that are cultural and spiritual significance. It could be viewed as decorative, like this, but it's not. It's a spiritual helper,
Yeah.
just like my feather, and the medicines that we have that we use for students when they're having a hard time and they want to have a smudge and they want to do a prayer. I'll use the sage or the sweetgrass or the tobacco or the tobacco, sage, sweetgrass, and cedar. Any of those for different things. There's a difference between decorative and ceremonial. And sometimes people will say, well, that's a beautiful piece, like the quill boxes. They're decorative, but they're not spiritual based.
Yeah.
Some things are for spiritual, and dream catchers are both. Some folks buy them because they're beautifully created, and some are for spiritual significance. The ones in China are decorative. They're not. They don't have that
Yeah.
spiritual base.
The ones I have, I made sure to get from a trading post, and they
Yeah.
had pictures of the ones being made, and it was so awesome to see.
Yeah.
And I never noticed it, but I realized that we actually have stuff like this from my grandparents, and we've never known what it was really about.
Well,
We've
the
just
coo-
known that we've had them.
My two great
Yeah.
aunts made these ones, and medicines would be kept in this dried medicines, especially if they're
Oh.
traveling. And it's made from birch bark and porcupine quills and sweetgrass. There's different ways you can make them. See, these quills, porcupine quills here, are natural quills, and then you can also dye them for color. Like I think my Aunt Dorothy dyed the starburst, the red, because the red is significant for blood and the strength of the nation. So she has red in there, and then those are all natural quills. So some people will dye the quills so they have color. Some will dye them in berries, berry juice, or different types of roots. So it just depends. So when you're doing your class presentation, if you need to borrow some things, I would be willing to lend them, except for some of the more spiritual based ones. But I would be willing to lend you my teaching rock. That's a spiritual based one that I do lend out, because I think I can wrap it and hide and it'll be okay with the paint, and I have lent it before. But I wouldn't lend my feather because you have responsibilities with those types of things where you have to be the one there when you're doing the teaching on it if you're not using it for ceremony. And you can take a quill box too. Yeah, so I hope that's helpful.
Of course
It was.
it is.
It was very
Gotta get ready for the next thing.